Hello everyone and happy May. We made it. We made it to May. How does it feel? It feels good, right? I hope everyone is doing well and made it through the month of the stay-at-home order all right. I don't know about you, but I'm still planning on staying home for a little while just to make sure that everything is all good. But it does feel good to be possibly, maybe, hopefully on the downhill of this and headed back slowly toward normalcy. Our Bible lesson for today is in the book of Acts. So we went through the Gospels, which have the stories of Jesus in them, and now we're in Acts, which is Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts. It's the book after John in the New Testament. And it's about what the disciples did and all the first Christians right after Jesus, all those stories of Jesus that we've been going over, what all the disciples and the first Christians were doing right after all those stories of Jesus. So backstory before we read our Bible story. The first Christians actually met in homes and they met in small groups. The powers that were, the Roman government, didn't want there to be anybody meeting and celebrating Jesus or believing in Jesus or anything like that. And so they kind of had to keep it hush-hush. They kind of had to keep it secret for a while. And so, and they didn't have a lot of people at first. They just had a few people who had known Jesus, or they were telling stories about Jesus and just kind of getting Christianity going. They were some of the first Christians. And so some of the first churches actually just met in homes. They didn't have big church buildings like our church at Aldersgate. They met in each other's houses. And wow, what are we doing right now during all the pandemic stuff? We're worshiping in our houses. So I think this story is really interesting to be reading right now because can you relate to those people who are just meeting and worshiping in their houses and maybe not gathering in big groups to worship God? You're just meeting in your house with some of the people that you know, and that's what we've been doing. Anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting just for what's going on with us right now. So let's read our Bible story. I said it's from the book of Acts, and it's titled Believers Share. And we're going to be talking about that some more. So here is a group of maybe the disciples and a bunch of men and women who were meeting and sharing meals together and talking about Jesus and what they were going to do as the first Christians. So let's read about it. There were many people who believed in Jesus. They became a community. They shared everything they had with one another. No one said, "This is mine." The community of believers took care of one another. People shared their money with the community. The money was used to care for everyone, so no one was in need. The believers continued to teach about Jesus and shared God's love with others. What a beautiful story of people coming together and being in community, caring for one another and supporting one another and sharing everything they had with one another. So maybe for you, during this pandemic time, maybe your family has shared something with another family or with the church to be shared with other families. I don't know if you know, but Aldersgate has had a food drive, food drop-off going since March to feed people who need some food in the community. Anybody can go and get some food. And we've been doing that to share what we have with others. And it's not that Aldersgate just went out and bought a bunch of stuff. It's that people in Huntsville, maybe your family even, brought some food by the church to be shared with others out of what you already had, or you used the money you already had to buy food to share with others. Maybe you received some food as a result of this food drive, or from like a school's food drive or something. Maybe you've been sharing or receiving toilet paper because toilet paper ran out all of a sudden about a month ago and a lot of people needed it. Maybe you've been sharing toilet paper with people. That is kind of what we've been doing this past month, is thinking about how we can be generous with what we have and share with others. And guess what? That's what they were doing in the book of Acts. That's great and wonderful. So our activity for today, our craft, is to make a fish out of Play-Doh. A little fishy out of Play-Doh. And this may seem kind of random because we didn't talk about fish, right, in our story. We didn't mention that at all. But I'm going to tell you why the fish are relevant. In the early church, from our Bible story in the book of Acts, the Christians, the early first Christians, used a secret symbol to tell other people that they were Christians. They might draw it somewhere so that someone could see. Maybe they would put it on the outside of their house, or maybe that was what they would include when they wrote letters to one another, is the little fish symbol. And that was just letting people know, hey, I'm a Christian. It's our secret symbol, and if you want to be a part of our community, or if you're a Christian too, you understand this symbol, and this is how we can kind of communicate with one another. And you know, like on the back of some cars, they'll have a sticker or a magnet kind of thing or something that's like a fish shape. That is the story, our Bible story of Acts, is where the fish shape came from. It was that secret symbol. And so people sometimes put it on their cars to say, hey, I'm a Christian. But that's where that comes from. So much cultural relevance in today's story. Which is why we're making a fish today. So this is my finished fish. And you can make whatever kind of shaped fish you want. If you know what the symbol is that people put on their cars, it's just like two little lines, you can make that shape. You could draw it instead of using Play-Doh, but I thought it would be fun to use Play-Doh and just be able to play something with my hands. So I just kind of smushed it into like a pointy end for his face, and then I smushed down this end to make his tail, and maybe push that in and make this part kind of pointy. And you do not have to make it look like my fish. You can make your very own fish, but this is what mine ended up looking like. And that kind of is a reminder of our Bible story today. So as we go throughout our week this week, let's remember the first Christians and how they shared everything in and with their community. And let's think about some ways that we can share and be generous. Maybe we could keep sharing food or start sharing food at the church's food drive, or maybe you could make some extra dinner one night and bring it to a neighbor, or share some toilet paper with someone who needs some. I don't know. There are lots of ways that we can share and look out for one another. So let's try to think about that this week and be conscious of how we can also share, just like the first Christians and the disciples. It said this in our Bible story too, but one of the great things about sharing is that if we all share of what we have, there's enough for everybody. So we don't need to keep all our stuff to ourselves. I'm really bad about this, thinking that I have to save all my stuff because what if I don't have enough? But the truth is, if we let some things go and are generous and share with others, if everyone did that, there would be plenty and enough to go around. So let's try really hard to not think of things as this is mine, like our Bible story said, and try to think of things that of ways that we can just be generous. And you know what? If you do share something this week, ask your parents to leave a comment on this video or send me a message or something. And we would love to share how you've been sharing with the church. Maybe that will inspire someone or lift someone up, lift someone's spirits, just to hear how generous we are being with the things that we have. So let me know if you end up sharing something this week with someone else. We're going to say our prayer together now, and as usual, we have our craft to look at. If you have your Play-Doh fish or your drawing of your fish or whatever you did, you can look at that while you pray or hold it up. And if you don't, you can just look at mine. So let's pray together. Dear God, help me to share with everyone in my community. Amen. I don't know about you guys, but I found this week's lesson particularly on point and meaningful in light of the quarantine and the pandemic and everything that's going on. So I hope that y'all were able to take something away from it. And that was our lesson for today. And remember to let me know on Facebook or Instagram, or have your parents send me an email if you end up sharing something this week. I would love to share your good news with our church and everyone who follows our pages. So be sure to let me know if you end up sharing something with someone else. And don't forget about virtual church. That is going to go up in just a little while, and you can watch it with your family online and worship with our whole church. Even though we aren't together in person, we are together online and as a community of people who love each other and want to follow Jesus. So be sure to catch the worship service later today and sing some good songs and hear a good message and just have a good moment of worship together. I hope you guys have an amazing week this week. First week of May and a new month, and the sun is shining. It's really pretty. So there are a lot of things that we can celebrate and a lot of things that we have to look forward to. So I hope y'all are doing well and are staying safe and healthy. Let me know if there's anything you need, if there's anything I can do for you. And I love you so, so much. So I'll see you next week, okay? See you then.